Good evening, dear students. I hope you all are studying hard and learning smart with respect to the auditing and assurance subject. So I hope you all have joined. And good evening, Narayan, Sushil, Pooja, Brinda. A very good evening to all of you. So we were doing chapter number 3, that is audit documentation and audit evidence. And students, we have covered essay 230, which is on audit documentation. Then we covered essay 500 on audit evidence. Then we discussed the various audit procedures, the risk assessment procedures, the substantive procedures, test of controls, and a very important concept of assertions in our last sessions with respect to this chapter, right? So today, as I told you that there are 9 essays in this chapter, we have already covered 2 essays. Now we'll be starting with the third essay, which is essay 580 on written representation. If you guys have any query, please send in your queries with respect to the last sessions on this chapter. I'll take them at the end of the session, right? And the next session is on Friday and then on Sunday. So before this Friday's session, I'll be uploading all the practice questions, descriptive questions, and MCQs. So I request you all to go through those questions. We'll be discussing them in the class, and please practice the descriptive question by writing them, right? Because whatever you are going to write in the exams will fetch you the marks, okay? So you need to practice this subject by writing also. Not all the questions, but at least 1 or 2 questions you can always, practice by writing, okay? So Parth is saying he has revised and also remembered all essays covered till now. That's good. So today we'll be starting with essay 580, and the name is what? Written representation. Okay? Now students, just try to understand. Let me just take you to the module. So if the auditor, let's say auditor A is there, CAA, he's the engagement partner of XYZ Limited. Okay? Now the management of XYZ Limited has agreed to the terms of audit engagement where under essay 210, that is agreeing to the terms of audit engagement, and you have done this in chapter number 1. Okay? So there was a concept of preconditions for an audit. Quickly tell me, what are the preconditions? For all those who have attended chapter number 1 and who have gone through the module and have learned, quickly tell me, what are the preconditions for an audit? So, what are the preconditions? See, the management understands and acknowledges that it is responsible for preparation of financial statements, that the management will prepare the financial statement as per applicable FRF, right? That the management is responsible for what? Implementation of internal control, and management is responsible for providing all information, additional information to the auditor, and to provide unrestricted access to the persons within the entity. Remember, right? Now, under essay 210, management has agreed to the terms of audit engagement. Management has understood and acknowledged that it is our responsibility to prepare the financial statement, to implement the internal control, to provide you with all the information. Now, when the auditor is about to sign his audit report, before that, auditor will ask the management that, management, listen to me. Whatever you have acknowledged, whatever you have understood that was your responsibility, please confirm it to me whether you have actually fulfilled all those responsibilities. And how will that be possible? The auditor will ask the management to provide a written representation with respect to such fulfillment of the responsibilities by the management. So the auditor will ask the management that, management, you acknowledged, you understood that something was your responsibility, like preparation of financial statements, selecting the correct applicable FRF, implementing internal controls, and then providing me with all the information. Now, please confirm it to me whether you have actually fulfilled all those responsibilities by way of what? A written representation. right? So I can say that written representation, it is a written statement by whom? By the management. To whom? To the auditor, right? Why? To confirm certain matters. I gave you an example of what preconditions for an audit. Okay? So management is being asked to confirm whether management has actually fulfilled all those responsibilities or not, right? And to support other audit evidence. Let's say the auditor is verifying the related party transactions, right? While verifying, while examining the related party transaction, the auditor wants the management to give a written statement that whether management has given information with respect to all related party transactions to the auditor. So it will serve as an evidence with respect to the examination of the related party transaction, right? So I can say that written representation by the management is a necessary audit evidence. Why? Because see, I, as an auditor, I'll inquire the management, and in response to that inquiry, management is giving me a written representation. Now, my next question to you, is written representation alone a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence? I said that written representation is what? It is an audit evidence, and it is a necessary audit evidence, right? Why? Because it is a response to the queries that the auditor makes to the management. Now tell me, is written representation on its own a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence? So the answer is no. Why? See, if we consider written representation as a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence on its own, ऐसे तो I can ask the management that management, please give me a written representation that all the purchases are properly shown. Please give me a written representation that all the sales are duly accounted for. Please give me a written representation with respect to the assets, with respect to the liabilities, so that I can consider it as an appropriate, sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, right? So this will not happen now. Why? Because management has prepared the financial statement, and how can we, just rely on a written representation given by the management that all the financial statement is prepared, is reflecting a true and fair view. So I can say, yes, written representation is a necessary audit evidence, but on its own, it is not a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. ऐसे तो audit करना is very simple ना. I'll ask the management to provide me written representation with each and every assertion that is coming in the financial statements, right? So let us just have a look at the definition of written representation from the module, and then there are a number of concepts that we will be studying under SA 580. Okay? So students are saying, no ma'am, written representation cannot be a sufficient appropriate audit evidence, which is absolutely correct. Yes, it is a necessary audit evidence. Why? Because it is a response to the inquiries which has been made by the auditor to the management. So SA 580, and the name is very simple, written representations, commonly known as WR. It deals with the auditor's responsibility to obtain written representation from management and, where appropriate, those charged with governance. Okay? What is the definition? So written representation are a written statement by management. Who is writing those statement? Management. To whom it is provided to the auditor. Why? To confirm certain matters or to support other audit evidence. To confirm certain matters, we saw preconditions of audit, right? And to support other audit evidence. The auditor may obtain written representation from the management, let's say, with respect to say related party transactions, with respect to say litigations and claims, that management, please tell me that whatever litigations and claims are there which are known to you, you have shown all those, you have given those information to me, right? No other litigation is there which has not been disclosed, right? You may obtain a written representation from the management that management, please tell me that going concern is there, right? So a written representation from the management, to whom it is given, to the auditor. And basically, if you will try to understand with respect to various implied assertion, the auditor will obtain written representation from the management. So it is what written representation by management provided to the auditor for two purposes: to confirm certain matters or to support other audit evidence, right? And we have seen that written representation is a necessary audit evidence. Yes, it is a necessary. Why? Because it supports my other audit evidence. It confirms certain matter, but written representation on its own is not a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. And dear students, please tell me, we have done this concept with respect to one of the audit procedures. What was that? That something alone is not sufficient and appropriate. Quickly, I need answers. Right? So what is the objective? Why an auditor is obtaining a written representation? First is, the objective is he wants to obtain written representation in order to confirm whether management has fulfilled all responsibilities or not. Fulfilled its responsibilities. And where have you seen the responsibilities? The preconditions of the audit, that the management will be responsible for preparation of financial statements as per the applicable FRF, for the implementation of the internal control, and for providing all information, additional information and unrestricted access to the persons within the entity to the auditor. And yes, Parth, you are absolutely correct. Inquiry, if you remember, we saw that inquiry is also an important, a necessary audit evidence, though inquiry alone is not a sufficient appropriate audit evidence. You cannot say that I inquired, management said yes, everything is fine, my audit is done. Same way, you cannot say that management has given me written representation with respect to various assertions that are appearing in the financial statement. No, auditor will have to perform his audit procedures. So I can say, even if the management has given reliable written representations, that fact is not going to impact the nature, timing, extent of audit procedures that auditor needs to perform with respect to various assertions. Yes, this is a necessary audit evidence, but it just supports the other audit evidence, right? So what is the objective? So first of all, to obtain written representation. Why? In order to confirm whether management has fulfilled its responsibilities, right? Now tell me, see, management has acknowledged that these are my responsibilities under Asset 210, agreeing to the terms of audit engagement. So unless and until I obtain this statement in writing from the management, I as an auditor, I cannot be sure that whether actually management has performed all its responsibilities. So what is the option available to me? Okay, I'll be performing the audit procedures, but with respect to the management responsibilities, I will ask the management that management give this to me in writing na, कि जो आपने agree किया था 210 में, whatever you have agreed under SA 210, you have actually fulfilled all those responsibilities, right? And the first one was to obtain written representation with respect to the responsibilities of the management, then to support other audit evidence. If the auditor is taking any of the assertion that is coming in the financial statement, and the auditor wants more audit evidence with respect to that assertion, the auditor can always ask the management that management, with respect to this assertion, please give me a written representation. Please give me this fact in writing again. Yes, it has already been mentioned in the financial statement, but I want this fact specifically to be written in the written representation, right? And the third point is to respond appropriately. What is meant by respond appropriately we'll be doing in the later on, like in this essay only, but to respond appropriately. See, when I, as an auditor, I'm asking the management that management, please provide me with written representation. Two options are available. Either management will provide or management will refuse to provide. In both the situation, what is my responsibility as an auditor? We'll be discussing that. Okay? So, abhi ke liye, what we have done that essay 580, it deals with the responsibility of the auditor to obtain written representation from management or where appropriate those charged with governance. And it is a written statement by management provided to the auditor to confirm certain matters or to support other audit evidence. And we saw that it is a necessary audit evidence, but not sufficient and appropriate on its own, right? The objectives are to obtain written representation with respect to what? The fulfillment of responsibilities by the management, to support other audit evidence, and to respond appropriately. Now, the next question arises as to from whom the auditor should obtain written representation. From whom? Can I obtain the written representation from the peon of the company? Or can I obtain it from the HR department relating to some finance matter? No. So I can say the persons who are the management who is responsible for the preparation and presentation of the financial statements, who have the sufficient knowledge with respect to the preparation and presentation of the financial statements, from them I'm going to obtain written representation, like your CEO, CFO of the companies, right? So I can ask them that please give me a written representation. Now, students, it might happen, we have read a concept of management's expert, right? So it might happen that I want a written representation from the management with respect to the litigations and claims. That what all litigations and claims are there, you have disclosed them in entirety to me, and whatever treatment is required to be done, whether contingent liability is to be shown or provision is to be made, you have done that correctly. Okay, I want a written representation. Now, the management of what was the client, ABC Limited, it has taken services of, let's say, external legal counsel. It has taken service of some legal expert. Okay? And that legal expert has helped the management in preparation and presentation of the financial statement. So when I ask the management to give me a written representation, management may find it, right to make inquiries of such legal experts, right? Same way, let's say some engineers are involved, right, with respect to some environmental matters. So management has taken the specialized knowledge, the services, the specialized knowledge of what these engineers, right? So management will make specific inquiries of these engineers before giving a written representation, which is absolutely fine, right? So from whom? The persons who have the management who is responsible for the preparation and presentation of the financial information, the financial statements, and they may make inquiries of the persons from whom they have taken the services of the specialized knowledge. For example, your legal experts, for example, the engineers with respect to what? The environmental matters, or we can also say the actuaries who have done certain actuarial valuations, right? Clear so far? Okay. Is it clear so far? Now, the next question that comes to my mind is, when I, as an auditor, I am obtaining the written representation from the management, quickly tell me, what should be the date of such written representation? What should be the date of such written representation? Quickly, I need answers. I want certain information that I want the management to confirm and give that to me in writing. What should be the date of that information? See, when I said that we will be confirming whether management has fulfilled all its responsibilities, right? So responsibilities for what? For providing all information. And students, see, suppose the financial statements are closed on, say, 31st March 2021, right? We will be doing essay 560 on subsequent events in the next session, whereby you will be understanding that yes, financial statements have been closed on 31st March 2021, but auditor will have certain responsibilities till the date of audit report. Till the date he signs the audit report, whatever matters take place during this time, whatever facts come to his knowledge during this time, auditor has certain responsibilities. What are those responsibilities? How to deal with that is given in essay 560, right? Now, when I am signing the audit report here, okay, so tell me what I'm saying, that management give me a written representation that you have given me all the information till my audit report. So I can say that the date of such written representation with respect to what the fulfillment of the responsibilities will be as near as practicable to the audit report date. Hana? Because I as an auditor, I am responsible for considering all these facts na. So yahan tak ke liye to I'll confirm from the management that till this date you have given me all the information. So I can say this date, the date of written representation should be as near as practicable to the date of the audit report. Now my next question to you, and I need answers. Tell me, can the date of written representation be after the date of audit report? We have understood that it should be as near as practicable to the date of the audit report. So can it be after the date of the audit report? Some students have already answered this question before like my asking this question. So quickly tell me. So Abhijit, you are correct, but I need answers from other students also. So my question is, the concept that the date of the written representation should be as near as practicable to the date of the audit report. Okay? Now, can it be after the date of the audit report? 1 day, 2 day, or 3 day after the audit report? So the answer is no. Why? Students, we as an auditor, we are using the written representation as an audit evidence. Based on the audit evidence, I give my audit report. Now, when I have already given my audit report, how can I obtain a written representation after that? That now tell me, I have given my audit report, now confirm whether you have fulfilled all the responsibilities. No. The auditor will always obtain a written representation which is dated before the date of the auditor's report. It should be as near as practicable to the date of the auditor's report. So the students are saying, no, ma'am, we cannot obtain a written representation after the date of the audit report. Why? Because we have seen that written representation is one of the audit evidence, right? And I, as an auditor, I will form an opinion. I will sign my audit report based on the audit evidence that I have obtained. So how can that be possible that I've signed and later on I am obtaining an audit evidence? No. So it should be before, though yes, as near as practicable to the date of the audit report. Okay. Now, my next question. If you have a doubt over the reliability of the written representation, what will you do? You have a doubt. The auditor is having a doubt over the reliability of the written representation. Or the second case, the management is refusing to provide you with the written representation. And for all those students who have listened to my last session attentively, or last to last session, we discussed that the absence of an audit evidence, absence of an information is also an audit evidence. Remember? We discussed that audit evidence can be corroborative or supportive, they can be contradictive, and any information, if it is not available, it is also one of the audit evidence. So if the management is refusing me, the auditor, that no, I cannot give you a written representation, auditor will apply what? His professional skepticism. Why management? You acknowledge that you are responsible for various things. You will be providing me with all the information. Now, when I'm asking you to provide me something in writing, you are not providing it to me. So auditor needs to be alert all the time. He'll apply his professional skepticism. So this point I wanted to tell you with respect to this, that written representation is an audit evidence. And in fact, the absence of written representation, management refusal to provide you with a written representation is also an audit evidence. Okay? So based on the audit evidence, the audit report will come, not vice versa. Okay? So the date part is clear, I hope. Now, so students are saying apply professional skepticism if there is a doubt over the reliability of the audit evidence. Now, reliability of written, just a minute. If there is a doubt over the reliability of written representation. Of written representation. See, if there is a doubt, it might be possible that the auditor has a doubt over the competence, over the integrity, honesty of the management. So what is the course of action that is available to the auditor? See, before, mentioning something in the report or before withdrawing from the engagement, the auditor needs to consider various things. Like in this case, if the auditor is having the doubt over the competence, integrity of the management, then he needs to determine the effect on reliability of written representations. If with respect to one written representation, auditor is having a doubt, okay, you need to determine its effect, right? Then if you confirm, if you find that the written representation is inconsistent with the other audit evidence, you ask the management that management, please give me in writing as to how many litigations are there against the company. Management said that this is a list of all 50 litigations which is pending against the company. And later on, you found an audit evidence whereby you saw that there is a 51st litigation which is also pending against the company at High Court, before High Court, and the management has not disclosed such fact to the auditor. Right? So now what happens is the written representation whereby the management has mentioned that this is the list, this is the complete list. The completeness assertion now is not correct. Okay? You are getting an audit evidence which is inconsistent with the written representation. So auditor, please perform procedures to resolve this matter. Okay? And discuss with the management. If the matter is still unresolved, it is still unresolved, consider the effect on other written representation and audit evidence. ऐसा तो नहीं है that if management is giving you one wrong written representations, so till date, whatever written representation management has given to the auditor, now there is a doubt on reliability of all such written representation. Now there is a doubt on reliability of all audit evidence that has been obtained during the conduct of the audit. So I'll just take it again. If the auditor is having any doubt on the competence, integrity of the management, then auditor determine the effect of such doubt on the reliability of written representation. And while determining, see, how will the auditor determine? He'll perform certain procedures. Okay? Let's say he obtained an audit evidence and he found that there is some 51st litigation which has not been disclosed. So I can say that now the written representation is inconsistent with other audit evidence that he has obtained. So auditor, try to resolve that matter. If it is still unresolved, now apply professional skepticism, apply your professional judgment. It might be possible that management has given you all incorrect written representation. How can you rely on the management which is giving you one wrong written representation and the audit evidence, right? And if you conclude that written representation is not reliable, auditor concludes. See, students, try to understand. See, when we'll be doing other essay, na, that our auditor is unable to obtain audit evidence, Hana. So we will see perform additional audit procedures. But here auditor is not being asked by SA 580 to perform additional audit procedures. Auditor is the SA straight away gives the power to the auditor to consider the effect in the audit report. Why? Because see, this is not any external confirmation that the debtor is not providing me the information. This is the management who has given us some inconsistent, some wrong information. We were relying on the integrity of the management. Now the management is not, honest. So straight away take appropriate action, consider modifying your opinion, and modification of audit report take place under SA 705. Clear? So auditor here is not being asked to perform additional audit procedures. Nahi. Because see, this is not a case that a debtor or a creditor is not giving me information. This is a case where I was interacting with the management throughout my audit, and at last I found that management is not honest, right? So straight away you have the power to take appropriate action under SA 705. And how to modify that opinion? Modification is what? You are not saying that the financial statement reflected true and fair view, or you are saying that they reflect but with respect to certain conditions. Okay, as of now try to understand this, otherwise we'll be doing this in detail in chapter number 11. So if you have a doubt, then ठीक है, एक बारी resolve करने के लिए you will have to perform audit procedures. But if the matter is still unresolved, consider effect on other written representation. ऐसा तो नहीं है आज तक सब कुछ ही गलत बोला गया है ना? And on audit evidence. And if you conclude that it is not reliable, straight away take appropriate action. Consider modifying your opinion under SA 705. Clear? Now, if you remember, we saw this point, that the objective is what? To obtain written representation, to support other audit evidence, or to respond appropriately. I told you that there can be two situations, right? So if management gives you written representation, and we saw that, see, if it is correct, then use it. If it is not correct, if you have a doubt over the reliability, we have discussed this thing also. Now the second, if management refuses, auditor will think, now why management? You acknowledged, you understood that you are responsible for various things, you have various responsibility with respect to preparation of financial statement, implementation of internal account, selection of applicable FRA, for providing me with all the information. Now you are not providing me with written representation. Why? Right? So in such situation, when written representation is not provided, first of all, see, straight away you will not take appropriate action. You will discuss with the management. Okay? You will reevaluate the management integrity. See, abhi tak to you were thinking na, the management is honest. That is why you were relying on inquiry, you were relying on the written representations, or you were relying on the internal audit evidence. Right? So you were relying on various written representation audit evidence. So discuss with the management, that management, what is the reason? Reevaluate management's integrity, and see, I put a star, that is, if you and then consider the effect that management is not providing me written representation, let's say with respect to related party. So ऐसा तो नहीं है जो litigations and claims का related written representation दिया था, that was also not good. ऐसे तो नहीं है going concern का जो written representation दिया था, that was not also good. So and take appropriate action, that is modify the opinion under SA 705. ठीक है? So this SA 580 contains various aspects with respect to written representation. 1 or 2 points are left, which I'll be taking up when we will go through the module. So I hope the understanding part is clear. Is anyone having any doubt? I am just having a look at your queries. Meanwhile, send me, do you have any doubt? ठीक है, so let us just go through the module. So we have seen what is the responsibility. See, every essay deals with the responsibility of the auditor, and this essay deals with auditor's responsibility to obtain written representation from management or those charged with governance. We have seen the definition that it is a written statement by management provided to the auditor for two purposes: to confirm certain matters or to support other audit evidence. Okay? Now, we discussed that it is a necessary audit evidence, though not sufficient and appropriate. So let us see. See, similar to responses to inquiries, written representation are audit evidence. So if you get a true and false, that written representation are audit evidence, true or false, it is true. If I give you a true and false, that written representation is a necessary audit evidence, quickly tell me true or false. Integrity is honesty, Pooja. Okay. So my question is, first was written representation is an audit evidence. I said it is true. Is written representation a necessary audit evidence? True or false? Necessary audit evidence. So I'll get your replies. Meanwhile, let me just take you through the module. Although written representation provide necessary audit evidence, so the answer is what? True. Okay? They do not provide sufficient and appropriate audit evidence on their own about any matter with which they deal. Okay? So furthermore, the fact that management has provided reliable written representation does not affect the nature, timing, extent of other audit procedures about the fulfillment of management responsibility. वो तो काम करना ही है ना. अगर मैं आपसे पूछूंगी आपने पढ़ाई की, आप तो बोलोगे ही ना की है. But I need to check ना. Same way, जब management से auditor is asking whether you have fulfilled the responsibilities, management will say, but yes, we need to perform our audit procedures. And yes, students, you are correct that the written representation is a necessary audit evidence. Okay? So just have a look at this illustration. वैसे I always give the illustration and examples as a homework, but I want to discuss this illustration. Auditor P of PAR and Company, a firm of chartered accountants, is conducting audit of Kapoor Industries. The auditor requests management to provide banker's certificate in support of fixed deposits. Okay? Whereas management provides only written representation of the matter, only written representation. So how will you deal as an auditor? So is it a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence? No. So what is mentioned? That although written representation provide necessary audit evidence, they do not provide sufficient and appropriate audit evidence on their own. है ना? और ऊपर क्या mentioned है? Only. तो only written representation does not provide sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Furthermore, the fact that management has provided reliable written representation does not affect the nature extent of the other audit evidence that the auditor obtains. So applying the above, the auditor would further request the management to provide with him a banker certificate in support of the fixed deposits held by the company. Why? Because ऐसे तो management will say, अच्छा, you need to verify the assets. I'll give this to you in writing. अच्छा, you need to verify the liabilities. I give this to you in writing. है ना? So the essay itself clarifies that auditor written representation is a necessary audit evidence, but it is not a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence on its own. Okay? Okay, what are the objectives? So the objectives are to obtain written representation about what? That the management has fulfilled its responsibility for the preparation of financial statement and for completeness of the information. See, unless and until I obtain from the management that management, please give this to me in writing that all information has been provided, how can I be sure that every information is with me as an auditor? So I'll take that in writing. To support other audit evidence, the auditor support other evidence relevant to the financial statements or specific assertion in the financial statements by means of what? Written representations, and to respond appropriately. I told you there can be two cases, whether management provides or management does not provide. So to respond appropriately to written representation provided by the management, or if management does not provide the written representation requested by the auditor. ठीक है? Now, management from whom written representation is requested. So, auditor shall request written representation from management with appropriate responsibilities for financial statement and knowledge of the matter concerned. जिसके पास knowledge होएगा उसी से तो auditor will take written representation, right? Now, here students are asking me, ma'am, please tell us the difference between management and those charged with governance. Though I have already discussed this in detail in chapter number 1, but I'll repeat it here. See, students, who is management? So, management is responsible for the execution of the various conduct of the entity's day-to-day activities. They have the executive responsibilities, your CFO, CEO of the company, right? And who are those charged with governance, popularly known as TCWG? So, all those who are involved in strategic decision making of the company, let's say mergers and acquisitions, okay, who are responsible for supervising the financial reporting process are what? Those charged with governance, right? But let us take an example of a sole proprietorship or a partnership firm. So, in case of a sole proprietorship or partnership firm, there cannot be a demarcation as to who is management or who is those charged with governance. There are two partners, let's say in case of a partnership firm, they are the management and they are the those charged with governance. Hai Same way, if a sole proprietor is there, so he is the management and he is the those charged with governance. So that is why, let us see what is mentioned, that written representations are requested from those responsible for preparation and presentation. Okay? And yes, one of the examples of those charged with governance is audit committee, which you will be studying in section 177 in chapter number 10. Okay? So those individuals may vary depending upon the governance structure. I gave you example of proprietorship firm, partnership firm. Usme there is no bifurcation as such. Na? However, management rather than those charged with governance is often responsible party. Okay. So written representation may therefore be requested from entity CEO, CFO or other equivalent persons, right? Then in some cases, management may decide to make inquiries of others. I gave you example of what staff engineers, actuary, internal counsel. See, staff engineers, basically the environmental experts. Let's say if certain litigation is going on with respect to the client is situated in northeastern states or the green belt, and some litigation is going against the company with respect to the height of the chimneys that need to be there. Okay, with respect to this air pollution thing. So some engineers must be involved na ki nahi height correct hai, koi litigation nahi banta, koi claim is not there, right? So I hope whose query was this with respect to staff engineers? Dora, I hope it is clear. Okay. So auditor, when the auditor is asking the management with respect to the written representation, so it might be possible the management is required to make inquiries of certain persons like actuaries, staff engineers, internal counsel, like legal counsel. Why? Because they have helped the management in preparing and presenting the financial statements. Okay? Now, written representation about management responsibility. This now you all know, we have done this in detail in chapter number 1. Information about the completeness of transaction. The auditor shall request management to provide a written representation that it has provided the auditor with all relevant information. See, unless and until I take this from management in writing, I cannot be sure whether all information has been received or not. All transactions have been recorded and are reflected in the financial statement. And how will that information be given? The same way like it has been given in your engagement letter. So, management responsibility shall be described in written representation in the manner in which these responsibilities are described in terms of audit engagement. That we understand and acknowledge that we are responsible for what? Preparation of financial statement and everything. Okay? Other written representation. So, basically it says that there are certain essays. For example, we will see that essay 501. Okay, which I'll be doing after this essay 580. There, that essay deals with litigations and claims. And there is a paragraph which says that auditor can obtain written representation that management has disclosed all possible known litigations and claims to the auditor. Okay? So it says that if the essay is required, you can ask for the written representation. With respect to responsibilities, you can ask for the written representation. And as and when, with respect to any of the matter, if you feel that management should provide a written representation to you, you can obtain a written representation from the management. And more specifically, see, we are saying that the management has agreeing to the terms of the audit engagement. Okay? And now we are confirming that management to know whether you have fulfilled all those responsibilities. So it says that more specifically in the following cases, it is appropriate to obtain a written representation with respect to management fulfillment of responsibility. What are those cases? Suppose those who have signed the terms of audit engagement of the behalf of entity have no longer the relevant responsibilities. Suppose you entered into the terms of audit engagement. So there were Mr. X and Mr. Y who have signed those on behalf of the company. Now they have changed. Some Mr. V and W have come. So again, you will obtain a written representation. The terms of audit engagement were prepared in the previous year. If you remember, we saw that no need to prepare it again and again. But in case of a change in circumstance, in case of change in personals and all, then the terms can be prepared again and again. So it might be possible that the terms of the agreement were prepared in the previous year, or if the auditor has an indication that management misunderstands those responsibilities, then you can always clarify that by way of a written representation. And in case of change in circumstances, you can always clarify everything by way of a written representation. With respect to date, we have seen, and this is very, very important, you can get a true, false, MCQ or a descriptive question. The date of written representation shall be as near as practicable to, but not after, very, very important, not after the date of the auditor's report on their financial statements. Clear? Form of written representation, it will be in the form of a representation letter addressed to the auditor. Okay? If the auditor is having a doubt over the reliability of the written representation, then if the auditor has concerns about the competence, integrity, ethical values, diligence. Diligence is what? Careful attitude of the, that is, if the management is not careful. Okay? Diligence as such means being careful. Okay? Integrity is what? Honesty. So, or about its commitment. The auditor shall determine the effect of such concerns may have on the reliability of the written representations. And if any written representation are inconsistent with the other audit matter, other audit evidence, auditor shall perform audit procedures to resolve the matter. If that matter is still unresolved, reconsider the assessment of management integrity, ethical value. पहले तो हमने सोचा था that management is honest. अब सोचना दोबारा पड़ेगा that actually whether management is actually honest or not, right? If the auditor concludes that the written representation are not reliable, the auditor shall take appropriate action, including determine the possible effect on the auditor's report under SA 705. So I hope about written representation, everything is clear. So written representation provided by the management to the auditor. And students, just give me 1 minute. I'll just show you a sample written representation that is given in essay 580 itself. Just 1 moment. So be with me just a minute. So I'll share my screen. See, this is one of the sample illustrative representation letter which is given in essay 580. So it will be, just a minute. So it is, addressed to the auditor, right? And it is mentioned that it is provided in connection with audit, right? And we confirm to the best of our knowledge and belief, having made such inquiries. Can you relate it to that point of specialized knowledge? Staff engineers or legal expert, Hana, as we consider necessary. So what is management giving in writing? That we have fulfilled our responsibility for preparation of financial statements in accordance with FRF. Significant assumptions used by us in making accounting estimates include what? Those measured at fair value are reasonable. Related party relationships have been appropriately accounted for. Hana? All subsequent events. See, this is essay 560. I'll be discussing later on. Then any other matters which is appropriate. We have provided you, that is, you is what? Auditor, access to all the information, additional information, unrestricted access. And you will say this is exactly the same language that we have seen in essay 210 under preconditions. All transactions have been recorded. Hana? All. We have disclosed you the results of assessment of risk that management has done. Okay? And it is signed by whom? It is signed by the management. So I hope you just got a little idea as to what is a written representation, how the same is given. Okay? So quickly tell me whether essay 580 on written representation, whether it is clear to you or not. Yes, you will require one reading of the entire essay given in your module, and I'm sure you will be clear about each and every aspect of this essay. So quickly tell me, before I start with essay 501, quickly tell me whether you have understood the entire essay. Is there any doubt? So my next essay for today is essay 501. Students, who all remember the name of essay 500? Quickly tell me, essay 500. What was the name of essay 500? We did it in last to last session. SA 500. You can get a hint from the screen which I have shared. So, SA 500, the name is audit evidence, Hana, and SA 500 deals with the auditor's responsibility to perform audit procedures to obtain audit evidence throughout the course of audit. And SA 501, you can say it is an extension of the provisions that are contained in SA 500. And yes, students, you are absolutely correct. SA 500 is audit evidence. Okay? Now, the name of SA 501 is what? Audit evidence, specific considerations for selected items. Just listen to whatever I'm saying and you will be able to, learn the name of this essays like very easily. Okay? So what is the name? Audit evidence. So this essay says that auditor, when you have to obtain audit evidence with respect to certain selected items that are contained in me, what are those selected items? Inventory, litigations and claims, segment information. So SA 500, which is audit evidence, the auditor needs to perform audit procedures in order to obtain audit evidence for the entire conduct of audit. So whatever is mentioned in SA 500, that is to be applied throughout the conduct of audit. And whatever is been mentioned in SA 501, the name of SA 501 is what? Audit evidence dash specific considerations for selected items. So SA 501 will be applicable with respect to these selected items, which are what? Inventory, litigations and claims, and segment information, and more specifically to the specific considerations that have been given in this essay. Now, what is meant by specific consideration? See, with respect to inventory, now do you all know what all assertions are applicable with respect to what account balances? It is an asset. It has an account balance as on 31st March. So what all assertions are there? Ownership is there. Valuation is there, right? So this essay says, I am not talking about valuation. I'm not talking about as such ownership. I am talking about the existence and condition of inventory. So auditor, if you have to consider, you have to check the various aspects with respect to existence and condition of inventory now, then follow me. Same way with respect to litigation and claims, this is one of the selected item. And what specific consideration? If with respect to litigation and claim, you want to check the completeness, that whether all litigation and claims have been identified, then come to me. And same way with respect to the segment information, that whether segment information has been presented and disclosed as per the applicable FRF, then come to me. Okay? So not all assertions are dealt in with SA 01, and not all assertions, all items coming in the financial statement are dealt with in SA 501. So the name is what? Audit evidence. Okay? Audit evidence to lena hai, but with respect to specific considerations for selected items. And what are those selected items? The inventory, litigation and claims, and segment reporting. And more specifically, specific considerations are what? The existence and condition of inventory. वो check करना है तो refer to SA 501. Completeness of litigation and claim you want to check, refer to SA 501. And presentation and disclosure of the segment information as per applicable FRF check करना है तो refer to SA 501. If you want to obtain audit evidence with respect to any other aspect related to these items, you can always perform the procedures that are given in SA 500. So audit evidence, by performing the procedures which are specified in SA 501, auditor will what? Auditor will obtain audit evidence. So that is why the name is what? Audit evidence. But with respect to what? Specific considerations, and that too on the selected items. So quickly tell me whether the name is clear or not. Yes. This is the list. This list, SA 50 contains only these three items. Selected items. Which items are selected? Inventory, litigation and claim, and segment reporting. No other item of the financial statement is selected by SA 501. And that too, existence and condition of inventory, completeness of litigation and claims, presentation, disclosure of segment information as per the applicable FRF, right? So as I always say that every essay contains certain responsibility for the auditor. So SA 501, what is the name? Audit evidence. Just try to, recall whatever we have understood. Selected items, specific considerations. So the name is audit evidence, specific considerations for selected items. Okay? So it deals with specific considerations by the auditor in obtaining what? Sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Audit evidence is always what? Sufficient and appropriate with respect to certain aspects of inventory, litigation and claims, and segment information. So what is the objective of the auditor? The auditor needs to perform the audit procedure in order to obtain the audit evidence with respect to what? the existence and condition of inventory, the completeness of litigation and claims involving the entity, and the presentation and disclosure of segment information in accordance with the applicable FRF. Your AS 17, Ind AS 108, applicable FRF. Okay? And we will be discussing all these 3 items in detail one by one. Okay? So first of all, let us start with inventory, and I assure you that you are going to find it very interesting and you will be able to learn, but I need your patient listening and your concentration for the next, let's say, half an hour for this essay. Okay? Now let's say this is the management. This is the management personnel or staff of the management, and this is auditor. Okay? Now we all know that who is responsible for conducting the physical inventory count. Quickly, I need answers from all of you. Who is responsible for conducting the physical inventory count? I have told you this thing a number of times. So the management. See, management has to mention in the financial statement the amount of closing stock. Okay? So, and also as a part of the internal control, management may have the policy. The client is having a policy that quarterly or monthly or half yearly or at the year end, the stock taking take place. Okay? So the management, let's say at the year end on 31st, will ask its staff to count the stock. So let's say this is the stock. Okay. Let's say this is a rice. This company is dealing in rice. Okay. So students are saying, ma'am, management, personnel. Okay. Okay. So see, management will ask its personnel to conduct the physical inventory count. Okay? And I can say when the physical inventory count takes place, there will be certain what results of the physical inventory count. There will be what results of physical inventory count. Okay? This is the result of the physical inventory count. Now, how to record and how that result is controlled. The recording for the recording and the controlling of this result of physical inventory count. The management must have given certain instructions or procedures, right? So what we have seen, we are looking at SA 501 and whereby more specifically we are discussing inventory, how the existence and condition of the inventory is to be checked by the auditor. So we started our discussion by saying that management is responsible for getting the physical inventory counted. Okay? Now what is the duty of the auditor? So SA 501 says, auditor, go and attend that physical inventory count. Go and attend that physical inventory count. ठीक है? फिर auditor says, अच्छा, जाके क्या करना है? I'll be attending. बस चाय पी के वापस आ जाना है? नहीं. SA 501 says, when you are attending the physical inventory count, you need to perform 4 things there. First of all, auditor try to understand that there must be certain results of physical inventory count. And management must have given the instructions for recording and controlling. Management must have given the instructions and procedures to the personnel for recording and controlling the results of physical inventory count. Management do one thing, evaluate such results. When you are attending the physical inventory count, evaluate the management instructions and procedures for recording and controlling the results of physical inventory count. है ना. When the staff is counting the inventory, there must be certain results, है ना. कुछ तो आया होगा ना कि कितना क्वांटिटी है, कैसे क्या क्या बैग्स रखे हुए हैं. You need to see the management instructions and procedures for recording and controlling of results of physical inventory count. See, technically what happens is, let's say on 31st March the physical inventory count has been done. ठीक है. Now what will happen is, mostly what happens, the in and out of the inventory stopped when the physical inventory count takes place. ठीक है. So the secondly, this essay says management auditor observe everything. You remember I made this diagram in observation. So observe, look at the process being performed by others. Look at the process being performed by others and see how everything is, how each and every aspect of the inventory count is taking place. If management has given the instructions that when the inventory count will take place, the in and out of the inventory will be stopped, just observe whether that is happening or not. When the physical inventory count is been made, it needs to be signed by the personnel who is conducting the physical inventory count and by the management who is present there. Just observe whether that is happening or not. So you need to first of all attend the physical inventory count. Auditor, go and attend the physical inventory count. और attend करते हुए सिर्फ खड़े नहीं रहना वहां पे. You need to evaluate the management instructions and procedures for recording and controlling the results of physical inventory count, and observe as to how such physical inventory count, how the management procedures of, like what are the procedures of counting the inventory which are done by the management. See, just try to understand when the auditor is, evaluating the results. Evaluating is what he's inspecting these documents, Hana. He's inspecting the instructions, the procedures. There may be a checklist ki aise aise hona chahiye. He'll see, acha hua hai ya nahi. ठीक है. Yes, auditor is observing. So auditor needs to evaluate and he needs to observe कि actual में वैसा हो रहा है या नहीं, कैसे counting हो रही है. ठीक है. Now, when the auditor is evaluating the results, when the auditor is observing, he is able to, know about the existence of the inventory. ठीक है. Observe किया, दिख गया ना इन्वेंट्री कैसे है, ऑब्जर्व कर लिया. ठीक है. व्हेन ही इज इवैल्यूएटिंग द रिजल्ट्स, उस पे मेंशन है ना कितना क्विंटल्स ऑफ राइस है, कितना क्वांटिटी है, तो एग्जिस्टेंस के बारे में पता चल गया. बट ऑडिटर, यू ऑल्सो नीड टू कंसीडर व्हाट कंडीशन. So in order to verify the condition, मतलब whether that rice is sellable or not, ऐसे तो नहीं है कि सारा खराब हो गया है. What is the condition? You just inspect also. What you can do is you can just, open up 1 or 2 bags and just look at the condition. तो evaluate करना है, observe करना है and inspect भी करना है. ठीक है. And auditor, the fourth thing that you can do when you are attending the physical inventory count is you can perform test count. Let's say there are 20 go downs of the client. You can always say that, okay, management, with respect to 19 go downs, your personnel are conducting the physical inventory count. I'm inspecting, I'm observing, and I am what? I am evaluating. With respect to 1 go down, or say with respect to this inventory which is lying in this go down, me and my team, we will be performing test count. ठीक है. So SA 501 says that auditor, you need to see the existence and condition. That when you need to see the existence and condition of the inventory, then follow these procedures. So first of all, attend the physical inventory count. ठीक है. And attend करके क्या करना है? Auditor will evaluate what? Management's instruction and procedure for recording and controlling of the results of physical inventory count. Auditor will observe the performance of management's count procedure. Auditor will inspect the inventory and auditor will perform the test count. Clear? इतना काम करना है, right? Now, when the auditor is planning the attendance as physical inventory count as to when to go, how many personals will go, who will go, what all factors auditor will consider. Very simple. The nature of inventory, what kind of inventory is there, what is the stage of completion of that inventory, is any risk of material misstatement identified with respect to that inventory, right? Then auditor will also consider whether internal controls with respect to inventory count are good or not. What is the timing of physical inventory count? Okay. Auditor may also consider where is it material? Is the inventory material? Auditor will also consider, is there a need to take any auditor's expert with the team? Let's say it might be possible that the client is dealing in diamonds. Now, I as an auditor, I don't have an understanding as to kitna carat ka diamond hai or whatever is the criteria. So I may take an expert. So is there a requirement to take an auditor's expert? So these are the general points that the auditor has to consider. Now I told you that technically na 31st March ko hota hai inventory count. Now, it might be possible that the management is conducting the physical inventory count on an alternate date. 31st March की बजाय ना 4th April को कर रहा है management. Test count is, whose query is this? Pooja, test count, Pooja and Riya, test count is, see, अभी तक क्या देख रहे थे? What we were seeing that we were observing. क्या ऑब्जर्व कर रहे थे? We were observing that these personals were counting the inventory कि कितना क्विंटल्स है, बैग्स को काउंट कर रहे थे या जो भी प्रोसीजर है वो फॉलो कर रहे थे. Now when auditor has observed everything, auditor has inspected, it is possible for the auditor to test count कि इतना एरिया में जो इन्वेंट्री है ना, me and my team we will be counting it. ठीक है, वी विल बी काउंटिंग इट अलॉन्ग विद योर स्टाफ. अभी तो ऑब्जर्व कर रहे थे ना, अब हम आपके साथ साथ चल के वी विल ऑल्सो परफॉर्म द टेस्ट काउंट्स. ठीक है, एंड यस, हु इज तनु? यस, द ऑडिटर इज ऑब्जर्विंग हियर, है ना, ही इज ऑब्जर्विंग, ही इज इवैल्यूएटिंग, ही इज इंस्पेक्टिंग एंड ही इज परफॉर्मिंग टेस्ट काउंट. ठीक है, सो द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज 31st March को होता है एंड वी गिव आवर report our opinion on the balance sheet as on 31st March. ठीक है, let's say it is 21. We give our opinion on the balance sheet as on or for the P&L for the period ending 31st March. Now, if let's say management takes the inventory count on an alternate date, ठीक है, so attend that physical inventory count on an alternate date. And what this essay says is, auditor, in order to arrive at the figure of 31st March, you do one thing, you add all the sales that have taken place during the year, you reduce all the purchases, you will arrive at the figure of 31st March. Okay? So there is no problem if the physical inventory count is being conducted on an alternate day. You go on that date and see whatever transactions are there during the intervening, during the period between the end of the financial statement and the date on which the physical inventory count takes place. Okay? Now, let's say another point. Let's say that management, the auditor was going to attend the physical inventory count on 31st March. But due to some unforeseen circumstances, okay, due to some unforeseen circumstances, auditor is unable to attend the physical inventory count on that day. Okay, let's say the auditor, let's say the team meets an accident on that day. So due to unforeseen, जो पहले से नहीं पता है ना, unpredictable circumstances, the auditor is unable. So in that case, attend the physical inventory count, request the management to conduct the physical inventory count on an alternate date. And again, whatever are the intervening transactions, the word uses what? Intervening transactions between the alternate date and your date of financial statement. What is date of financial statement? 31st March. Do the calculations for that the same way we did here. Okay? So alternate date पे होता है, तो not an issue. You can just calculate the sales and purchases with respect to the intervening period and you may arrive at the figure of the balance sheet date. Okay? Now, third situation, let's say it is impracticable to attend the physical inventory count. You are not, this is impracticable. The example that has been given in essay 501 is what? Suppose the inventory is situated at a location which poses threat to the safety of the auditor. The auditor and his team are not safe if they go to that location to conduct the physical inventory count. It is impracticable. Okay? So it is impracticable to attend the physical inventory count. In such a situation, what will auditor do? Auditor will perform alternate procedures. Auditor will what? Perform alternate procedures. And if it is not possible, see, if even after performing alternate procedures, what can be the alternate procedures? Say 31st March ko there is some inventory. So what can auditor do? Before this date, whatever are the purchases, auditor can verify all those purchases. After this date, whatever are the sales, auditor can verify such sales. Auditor will be able to, get the information about the inventory as on 31st March. Why? Because जो purchase किया होगा वही तो inventory होगा ना, या जो sale किया होगा that is out of this inventory only ना. But auditor, if it is not possible for you to, obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then auditor, you can always modify your report under SA 705. Why? Because if inventory is material and due to genuine reasons, it is, impracticable to attend the inventory count, तो सबसे पहले तो try to perform alternate procedures. वो करने के बाद भी, even after performing that, it is not possible for the auditor to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, then modify your opinion now, because inventory is material, right? And students, if you remember, when we did in chapter number 1, the inherent limitations of audit, quickly go back to chapter number 1. Inherent limitations, there was a point with respect to timeliness, cost, balance is to be maintained between benefit and cost. And it was mentioned that difficulty of time and cost is not an excuse to omit an audit procedure. So auditor cannot say that the general inconvenience, let's say that the client is situated in the northeastern states. Auditor says that I cannot send my team to northeastern states. It involves time and cost. No. So if there is general inconvenience, perform alternate procedures. This is not an excuse to omit the audit procedures. But yes, if it is impracticable out of genuine reasons, you are unable to attend the physical inventory count. And what is the example? That if any situation whereby it poses the threat to the safety of the auditor, then yes, auditor, you can perform alternate procedure. In case you are still not able to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, what you can do is you can modify your opinion. You can modify your opinion. Okay? Under SA 705. And last case, with respect to inventory. Suppose the inventory is lying with a third party. The inventory is lying in a warehouse. Okay? So, first of all, what can auditor do? Auditor can always request the warehouse keeper that please give me an external confirmation. Please give me an external confirmation with respect to the existence and condition as to what all quantities are kept with you on behalf of my client and what is the condition of such inventory. And yes, auditor, if it is practicable for you to attend the, go there and inspect the inventory, you can always perform that in order to be sure about the existence and condition of the inventory of your client. Okay? So this was about the inventory existence and condition. I will just, put all the points with respect to inventory together. So we started with SA 501, which says audit evidence is to be obtained. It deals with the specific consideration by the auditor in obtaining sufficient and appropriate audit evidence with respect to certain aspects of what? Three things: inventory, litigations and claims, and segment information. And what are those specific considerations? Existence and condition of inventory. Completeness. So if I ask you, if I give you an MCQ that SA 501 deals with the following aspects of inventory: A, existence; B, condition; C, valuation; and D, A and B. So what is the correct option? A and B, existence and condition. ठीक है? Valuation के लिए auditor can perform other procedures which are given in essay 500. Completeness with respect to litigation and claim, and presentation and disclosure with respect to segment information as per applicable FRF. Now, in order to verify the inventory, first of all, it says auditor attend the physical inventory count, and not just attend, perform 4 things. You need to evaluate the management and instructions, management instructions and procedures for recording and controlling of results of physical inventory count. You need to observe the management count procedures. You need to inspect the records, the inventory, and you need to test. If you remember inspection, when we did inspection as an audit procedure, we saw that it includes physical examination of an asset, and inventory is an asset. Okay? So inspect that and perform test count. And auditor, if it is not possible to attend that on an alternate day, I'll do one thing, I'll take you through the module. Okay? So this you have seen that SA 501 is or what? Specific considerations for selected items. And the objective is existence, condition of inventory, completeness of litigation and claims, and then is presentation, disclosure of segment information as per applicable FRF. Okay? So abhi tak we have discussed inventory. So when inventory is material, see, if inventory is not material, tab to auditor will not, use the time and team towards checking the inventory. You all have done essay 320 in your chapter number 2, materiality in planning and performing an audit. So if the inventory is what? Material to the financial statements, the auditor shall obtain sufficient and appropriate evidence with respect to existence and condition. So what is to be done? Attendance at physical inventory count unless impracticable. And now you know what all is to be done if it is impracticable. So evaluate the management's instructions and procedures. For what? For recording and controlling what? The results of entities' physical inventory count. Observe the performance of management's count procedures. Inspect the inventory and perform test counts. And yes, this point was left, that whatever actual inventory count results are there, Hana, I made this diagram. So whatever these results are, ye wala, these results, Hana. So it says compare them with the entity's final inventory record. जो entity के final inventory record में आ रहा है, you need to compare them. अब attend करना है, and what are the matters that will impact the nature of entity? Very simple, you can just have a read. Stage of completion, risk of material misstatement, nature of internal control. You can just have a read. ठीक है? Physical inventory count conducted other than at the date of financial statement. See, 31st March ko closing balance will come, na stock, closing stock will come, and I'm reporting, I'm giving my report for the balance sheet as on this date. But still, if it happens on a date other than the date of the financial statement, then the auditor shall, in addition to the procedures required above, wo sab to karna hi hai, perform audit procedures to obtain audit evidence about whether changes in inventory between the count date and date of financial statements are properly recorded. वो सब तो करना ही है, मतलब alternate date पे तो you will attend and you will observe, you will inspect, you will test count, you will evaluate, वो तो करना ही है. But जो intervening the count date and the date of financial statement में है, whether those transactions have been properly recorded, you need to see that. If auditor is unable to attend physical inventory count due to unforeseen, I gave you example of the team meeting the accident, the auditor shall make or observe physical counts on an alternate day and perform audit procedure for intervening transactions. Intervening is between the date of the financial statement and the date when the inventory count takes place. If the attendance at inventory count is what? Impracticable, auditor needs to perform alternate procedures to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence about the existence and condition. However, if it is not possible, the auditor shall modify his report in accordance with SA 705. In some cases, in what case it can be impracticable? Due to factors such as nature or location of the inventory. For example, where the inventory is held in a location that may pose threat to the safety of the auditor. तो क्या करना है? तो auditor will obtain alternate procedures. क्या alternate procedures है inspection of documentation of subsequent sale, जो बाद में sale हुआ है उसको check कर लो, या any items that you have purchased prior to the inventory count date, ठीक है. And C, very important, the matter of general inconvenience, however, is not sufficient to support a decision by the auditor that attendance is impracticable. Why? Because SA 200 inherent limitations, we have seen the matter of difficulty, time and cost involved is not itself a valid basis for the auditor to omit an audit procedure for which there is no alternative. Okay? So general inconvenience is not something we are talking about. We are saying that it is impracticable. Genuinely, it is impracticable. And if the inventory is kept with a third party and it is material to the financial statement, then request confirmation from the third party as to quantities and conditions and perform inspection or other audit procedures appropriate in the circumstances. Clear? So we have done out of the three, one part of SA 501, which is about inventory, existence and conditions, and we have discussed SA 580 written representation. So here I'll take a break of 10 minutes. After the break, we'll be covering the litigations and claims and segment reporting, and I'll be taking up another essay, which is SA 505. Meanwhile, you can just send in your queries, whatever we have, and sharp at 7:36 we will be meeting. Okay, so students, I hope you all are back after the break. So many of you are writing, ma'am, it is crystal clear. I'm happy to know that. And some of you have a doubt with respect to what? Modifying the auditor's report. Okay? So I hope you all have joined back. I'll wait for 10 seconds and then I'll start. Meanwhile, I'll just have a look at your queries. So, see, with respect to the inventory, when I said that if inventory count is impracticable, for example, the inventory is situated at a location which poses threat to the safety of the auditor and his team, then auditor has been advised to perform alternate procedures. Okay? Now, even after performing the alternate procedure, if auditor is unable to satisfy himself with respect to inventory existence and condition, that is, he is unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. So what can auditor do? Auditor can mention this fact in his audit report. That is, he can modify his opinion. Abhi tak to he was saying that financial statement reflected a true and fair view. But now, since inventory is important, material say, students, what is meant by materiality? You all have done in essay 320 in chapter number 2, that which will affect the economic decisions of the users of the financial statement. Material is what important hai with respect to the financial statement, and auditor ने जो materiality level set किया है that 50,000 से ऊपर I'll be checking, but let's say inventory amounts to only 5,000 rupees. So this is the reference why the term material has been used. And secondly, how the auditor will modify the opinion is, earlier, if he do not consider the inventory part, he feels that financial statement reflected true and fair view. But since inventory is material and he is unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence with respect to inventory, so maybe now auditor does not want to say that financial statement reflect a true and fair view. Okay? He may say that there is a condition attached to it, right? Or he may give some other opinion. How the report is to be modified is the provisions are contained in essay 705, which you will be doing in detail in chapter number 11. So abhi ke liye try to understand that what? That he is not in a position to say that financial statement reflect a true and fair view. ठीक है? ठीक है? चलो, ठीक है. So I hope the doubts are clear. Chaitanya, this was your doubt regarding modification. What is meant by modifying the auditor's report? So auditor don't want to say that financial statement reflect a true and fair view. There are certain ways as to how to say this. Okay? And it depends. The same is given in essay 705. Abhi ke liye we are not discussing that. That is given in chapter number 11. Okay? So now let us start with the next item, selected item, and the specific consideration. So what is the selected item? It is litigations and claims. And what is the specific consideration? It is what? The completeness. Okay? So litigations and complaint and claims. Litigation is what? Quickly tell me what is meant by litigation. If any dispute is going against the company, dispute, and claim is what? If the company has to pay some compensation payment. If the company has to pay some compensation payments, okay? So litigations and claims, okay? Now, if you remember, we have done in essay 580. When we were doing essay 580, we saw, just a minute. We saw that we as auditor, we can obtain written representation from the management, that management tell me that you have disclosed all the litigations and claims that are known to you. Okay? The possible litigations and claims that are known to you, that have been disclosed, and that the entire list has been given to us. Now, tell me, while checking the litigations and claims. What is litigation? Any dispute, and claims is what, if any, compensation the company is required to pay if the company loses that litigation. Now, if auditor finds, let's say, any litigation and claim has already been identified, has already been disclosed, but auditor feels that there is a risk of material misstatement, management is saying that we are not preparing the we are not providing for it, we are not preparing the provision with respect to such litigation, and we will show it as a contingent liability. However, the auditor feels that the same need to be provided for in the P&L, that is, a provision needs to be created for this. Right? So if there has been any litigation or claim which has been identified, which has already been identified by the management, and it has been duly disclosed to the auditor in the financial statements also, but auditor feels that there is a risk of material misstatement. Why? Because management is saying we will win the case, but auditors feels that no, the chances of winning are very less. Okay? Or other case, if auditor finds that there is an additional litigation and claim which has not been identified, which has not been disclosed to the auditor. In both these situations, what an auditor is required to do. So we will be doing as to how to verify the litigations and complaints claims with respect to completeness, and if anything like this happens, what is to be done. Okay? Now let us see quickly, just if you can try, what audit procedures should we as auditor perform if we want to know about the litigations and claims of the company? What first audit procedure comes to your mind? The screen is already shared, Sandeep. I hope you are able to see it. So I can say, I will first of all inquire management, that management tell me what all litigations and claims are going against the company. Or the companies, generally they have an internal legal counsel, that is in-house legal counsel, that is internal legal department of the companies there. So I may inquire management and I may inquire the internal legal counsel of the company. ठीक है, simple है कि please tell me what all litigations are there. ठीक है. Secondly, it might be possible that the company has hired any external legal counsel with respect to certain litigations. है ना? They might have hired some advocates, some solicitors to present the company before the authority where the case is pending. So with respect to such external legal counseling, the company must be having certain meetings to discuss the matters. I, as an auditor, I can always look at the minutes of such meeting, because there it will be mentioned as to what was discussed, what is the matter. So first of all, I can inquire the management or the internal legal counsel with respect to the meetings of, let's say, those charged with governance. Now, I hope those charged with governance and management is clear. I've explained it again in this session. So where the meetings of the external legal counsel or the those charged with governance is there, auditor can always refer to the minutes of the meeting. And students, tell me, will these external legal counsel work without fees? No. So the company must have paid certain fees. So the company must have booked an expense under the head legal expenses. So auditor can always verify. Let's say there is legal expense of rupees 10 lakhs. Auditor can always ask the management, and management tell me to whom these payments have been made, for what all cases such payments have been made. Just try to imagine that, let's say the company is saying, the management is saying, we have a litigation and the amount involved is 20 lakhs. Okay? And when you look at the expense that has already been incurred, it is already 15 lakhs. So is it rational? Is it appropriate? No. Your professional skepticism will come, you will apply your professional skepticism by. ऐसा तो नहीं है that there are certain other litigations also which the management has not disclosed, for which management is paying the fees to the legal counsel, right? So first of all, in order to see the completeness, whether all the litigations and claims have been identified. So we are checking selected item, which is litigation and claims, and we are checking the specific consideration, which is what? Completeness. So auditor can inquire the management, the internal legal counsel of the company. Auditor can always can always inspect the minutes of the meetings of external legal counsel and those charged with governance. And auditor can always inspect the legal expense account. ठीक है. Students are saying the screen is not visible. Let me just share it again. So I hope it is visible now. ठीक है. So what I have said, that what is the selected item? Litigation and claims. And what is the consideration about the completeness? So auditor can inquire the management. Auditor can refer to the can discuss with inquire the internal legal counsel. Auditor can inspect the minutes of the meetings of the external legal counsel and those charged with governance. And auditor can always inspect the legal expense details of the company. Okay. Now, while auditor is performing all these procedures, if auditor identifies that with respect to an identified litigation to pata hai, but there is a risk of material misstatement, management is saying that we will win the case, but auditor feels that no, provision is to be made with respect to the claim that the company may have to pay. Okay? Or let's say management have shown this as a contingent liability, but auditor feels that this should be, applying his professional judgment, auditor understand that this should be shown, it should be provided for in the books of account. So a risk of material misstatement is there. Or if the auditor finds that there is other material litigation, okay, which has not been disclosed, then in such a case, what is to be done? Auditor, you do one thing, you directly communicate with the external legal counsel. You directly communicate with the external legal counsel. You can send a letter of inquiry to the external legal counsel, whereby you can request the external legal counsel that please communicate directly with the auditor of the company. Okay? Now tell me, students, the way we are the auditors, okay, we need to follow confidentiality. Same way, it might be possible that the Bar Council of India has also imposed certain confidentiality clause on the advocates. So it might be possible that they will not provide you with the information, they will not disclose the information that they have obtained out of the professional and business relationship with the client. ठीक है, हमारा भी तो confidentiality clause है ना, we need to abide by that. Same way, it might be possible that the solicitors also may not provide you with certain information. Now, what to do in that case? So what we have seen, that auditor feels that with respect to identified litigations, there is a risk of material misstatement. Other material litigation exists. Other say, what is meant by other? That apart from those which has been disclosed. Okay? So completeness of information is not there. Na? Management has not provided. So what to do? Auditor do one thing, directly communicate with the external legal counsel by way of what? By way of letter of inquiry. Okay? Letter of inquiry to whom? To the external legal counsel. Request them that please communicate directly with the auditor. But as we know that confidentiality can be imposed on them also. So what is to be done in that case? See, first of all, in what cases will you feel that meeting directly the external legal counsel is important? See, if you feel that there is a significant risk, the amount involved are very high. Okay? You feel that this is going to impact the going concern of the organization and the management is not agreeing with you. So significant risk is associated. If the matter is very complex, right? Or let's say when you read the minutes of the meeting, we saw now earlier that auditor can always read the minutes of the meeting here. When you saw the minutes of the meeting of the external legal counsel and those charged with governance, you found that there is a disagreement between both the parties. Management or those charged with governance is saying something else, and the external legal counseling are saying something else. So in these three situations, that is when there is a significant risk, when the matters are complex and when there is a disagreement, auditor may feel that meeting with the external legal counsel directly is very much necessary. Now, in a situation where when you meet the external, see in this situation, when there is a disagreement, it says auditor be professional. Meet the external legal counsel with the permission of the management, है ना, and in attendance of the management representative. ठीक है, मैनेजमेंट के साथ ही जाओगे ना, अल्टीमेटली यू आर वर्किंग फॉर द मैनेजमेंट ना. ठीक है. And secondly, let's say you went to meet the external counsel and he refused to provide you with information. Or let's say when you ask the management, I told you management will give you the permission. When you ask the management that management, can we meet the external legal counsel directly? Management refused. In such a situation, what is to be done? Again, you need to perform alternate procedures, and in case you are unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, now I need answers from your side. What can an auditor do? What is the weapon that is available, always available to an auditor? Quickly tell me. We have seen this in SA 501 also. If I, as an auditor, after performing all the alternate procedures, I am unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence with respect to litigations and claims, what should I do? What should I do? Quickly, I need answers. I shall modify my opinion in terms of SA 705. Now, this should be learned by heart. That auditor को पहले क्या कहते हैं? Auditor, go and perform alternate procedures ना. And if still he is unable to perform, he is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, the weapon that is available to an auditor is what? He can always modify his opinion. He can always modify. Yes, students are giving me correct answers. Tanu, all answers are from Tanu only. Yes. Dora is also saying change opinion in auditor's report. Chaitanya is also saying modify the auditor's opinion. Vivek, Anjana, everyone is saying that this, and one of the students is saying disclose in the audit report. So it basically, the word that is used is what? Modify the opinion under SA 705. So let us just have a look at the litigation and claim second part from the module, and then we'll be covering the last part. So litigation and claim. So auditor shall design audit procedures in order to identify a very important word. Identify, right? Litigations and claims involving entity which may give risk to a material misstatement, including what all auditor can do. He can do inquiry of management and others within the entity, including in-house legal counsel. He can review the minutes of the meetings of those charged with governance, correspondence and entity and external legal counsel, and he can review the legal expense account. And if auditor assesses the risk of material misstatement regarding litigation that has been identified, जो management ने identify कर लिया, disclose किया है, but auditor feels that contingent liability or let's say provision is to be made, but management is just showing it as a contingent liability, the auditor feels that there is a risk associated with it, risk of material misstatement. Or when audit procedures indicate that other litigation or claims may exist, that is, the management has not disclosed. There is a, if you remember, I gave you example of there are 50 litigations for which the management has given written representation, but there is 51st litigation which was not disclosed. Okay? So auditor shall, in addition to the procedures required by other SAs, seek direct communication of the entity's legal counsel. And how will that be possible? Through a letter of inquiry. Okay? However, say if the law, regulation or respective legal professional body, the Bar Council of India, it prohibits, example, the Bar Council of India, it prohibits the entity's external legal counsel from communicating directly to the auditor shall perform alternate procedures. And in what circumstances it will be, required, it will be necessary to meet the entity's external legal counsel. Examples are when the auditor determines that the matter is a significant risk, that the matter is complex, or there is a disagreement. Kaise pata chala? From the minutes of the meeting na? Or when the auditor was inquiring the management or internal legal counsel. So there is a disagreement between management and entity's legal counsel, and ordinarily such meetings require management's permission and are held with the representative of management in attendance. Now, if the management refuses to give you permission, or the council is not providing you with the information, and auditor is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, see, our opinion needs to be based on sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Ab wohi nahi mil raha hai, to opinion kaise dena hai? Modify it under, the auditor shall modify the opinion under SA 705. And students, this part I've already covered when we were doing SA 518. Written representation is given where? In SA 518. So auditor shall request the management and where appropriate those charged with governance to provide written representation. What written representation? That management suno, ye likh ke do, what? That all known actual or possible litigations and claims whose effect should be considered when preparing the financial statement, provision banana, expense book karna hai ya aapka contingent liability dikhana hai, have been disclosed to the auditor and appropriately accounted for and disclosed in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. Okay? So we will take this in writing from the management, that is, we will obtain a written representation. See, here the SA 501 specifically asked the auditor to obtain a written representation in terms of SA 580. Now try to correlate with the paragraph that was given in SA 580. It said that with respect to management responsibility, auditor take a written representation. With respect to the requirements given in other SAs, so there is a requirement which has been given in SA 501 that take the written representation from the management. So I hope the part litigation and claims is clear. And yes, now segment information. I told you that this is the presentation and disclosure part the auditor is going to check with respect to segment information. And students, what is the applicable FRF? As per the applicable FRF, AS 17 segment reporting or IND AS 108. So whether the presentation and disclosure has been done as per the applicable FRF with respect to segment reporting, if the auditor has to check, then that go to SA 501. ठीक है, अब उसमें क्या करना है, that is all given and which is very simple. ठीक है, so I'll do this from module only. So the auditor, again, see, the ultimate aim is to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. What is the name of this essay? Audit evidence, right? Then specific considerations for selected items. So sufficient appropriate audit evidence to lena hi hai. Regarding what? Presentation and disclosure of segment information in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. ठीक है. So it says that auditor, listen to me, that when the management is presenting or disclosing the segment information, what is segments? For example, let's take an example of Reliance. It is into petroleum product, petrol business also. It is into jewelry business also. It is into mobile also. It is into some like Reliance Fresh is also there. So there are various segments. Okay? So when the information with respect to separate segments is to be shown, so that is what AS 17 or IND AS 108 will be applicable. Okay? Now, the management must be following certain method when it is presenting and disclosing such information. So it says, auditor, do one thing, obtain an understanding of such method, whether the method that the management has followed, whether it result in the disclosure which is required as per the applicable FRF. And C, also test the application of such method, whether such method is properly done or not. ठीक है? So first of all, obtain an understanding of the method. अब understanding लेते हुए, what you have to see whether that method results in appropriate disclosure as required by the applicable FRF, and also where appropriate test the application of such methods. An auditor, you can also perform analytical procedures, the ratios. ठीक है? You can always compare the data. You can always apply what here, SA 520 also, है ना, analytical procedures. ठीक है? Now SA 501 says that when you are obtaining the understanding of the methods now, you may obtain understanding of various matters like what? How the inter-segment amounts like sales, transfers and charges are being recorded. ठीक है? Whether the inter-segment amounts are being eliminated, right? You may compare the budgets and expected results. ठीक है? For example, operating profits as a percentage of sale. That is what another example of analytical procedure. You may see the allocation of assets and cost among the segments, and you may see the consistency with the prior periods with respect to what disclosures. And in case of any inconsistency, you may perform the other procedures. So segment information, students are saying that, ma'am, we have already done this in accounts. ठीक है? So let us just have a look to segment information again, and then I'll be doing the third essay. And ठीक है students, I'll slow down the speed. ठीक है? So segment information. So what is to be done? The auditor is required to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence with respect to what? Presentation and disclosure of segment information, and it should be in accordance with applicable FRF. ठीक है? So first of all, it says that auditor, please obtain an understanding of the method that the management has followed and see whether that method is likely to result in disclosure as per the applicable FRF. Secondly, wherever it is appropriate, you also test the application of such method, how such method has been applied. ठीक है? Auditor, you can also perform the analytical procedures, ठीक है, wherever you feel comfortable, appropriate. And just an elaboration of this, that when you are understanding the methods, what all can be done. So first of all, when there will be segments, there will be some within the segments, there will be some sales, there will be some purchases. So whether there has been elimination of inter-segment amounts. ठीक है? Auditor also compare the budgets with the expected results. Some budgets must have been made now as to this is the budgeted profit from this segment. है ना? So compare them. Comparison of budgets and the other expected results. Secondly, see the allocation of cost of assets and other costs. For example, with respect to two segments, let's say common assets have been used. है ना? Common costs are there. So see how the same has been allocated and compare whatever are the information available to you with respect to whether this is consistent with respect to the prior period. Again, one of the analytical procedures. ठीक है? So with this, we have finished essay 501. And before starting with essay 505, I'll again recapitulate it, and Charu, I'll recapitulate it in a slower speed. ठीक है? So, audit evidence, specific considerations for selected items. ठीक है? So essay 501 is for specific considerations for selected items. And what are those selected items? Those are inventory, litigation and claim, and segment information. And what is the specific consideration? Existence and condition of inventory, completeness of litigation and claims, and presentation and disclosure of segment information. With respect to inventory, the essay says that auditor, if inventory is material, attend the physical inventory count unless impracticable. ठीक है? Attend करके क्या करना है? You need to evaluate management instructions and procedures. किस चीज के लिए? For recording and controlling what the results of physical inventory count. You need to observe the performance of management count procedures. You need to inspect the inventory, and you need to perform the test count. And whatever are the results of the actual results of the physical inventory count that is being produced in front of you, you compare it with the entity's final inventory records. Okay? Various factors which you may consider when you are planning the attendance as physical inventory count. What is the nature of inventory? Okay? What is the stages of completion of work in progress, the risk of material misstatement, the nature of internal control, the timing of physical inventory count, whether the company maintains a perpetual inventory system. What is perpetual inventory system? You must have seen in the grocery stores, as and when the customers are buying the products, the inventory records get updated at that point only. So perpetual continuous inventory system, or location where it has been kept, and the materiality of the inventory. Okay? And whether you need an expert, auditor's expert for this or not. Okay? Now, if it is not possible to conduct it, if the physical inventory counting is been done on an alternate day other than the date of the financial statement. Date of financial statement is what? 31st March ko nahi ho rahi hai. So other than date, no problem. Attend the physical inventory count on the other date and perform ऊपर वाले सारे procedures. Observe, inspect, evaluate and test count. ठीक है? उसके बाद जो भी count date और date of financial state के बीच में जो भी transactions हैं, see whether they are properly recorded. If due to unforeseen circumstances, see what is the difference between 4.5 and 4.6. 4.5 में it is practicable, but due to unforeseen circumstances, you are not able to attend on that day. Then attend in on some other day and perform the audit procedures with respect to the intervening transactions. Now, if it is impracticable, SA 501 says it poses a threat to the safety of the auditor and his team. So, ठीक है, उस केस में perform alternate procedures. And still, if you are unable to perform the alternate procedures, you are unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, modify your opinion under SA 705. But it also says that SA 200 says that difficulty in time and cost are not itself valid base for what? You are omitting any audit procedure. So if it is a genuine reason, then only perform alternate procedures or modify the opinion if you are unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay? And if the inventory has been kept with the third party, request confirmation from the third party with respect to quantities and condition. What is quantities? The existence of inventory. Perform inspection or other procedures appropriate. Okay? Try to visualize yourself in the situation कि अब impracticable है, अब third party के पास है. You will be able to write the answers if you have attended these lectures properly and you have gone through the module in entirety. ठीक है? Now litigation and claim. So auditor को सबसे पहले तो क्या करना है? He needs to design the audit procedures and the keyword is to identify the litigations and claims involving the entity. कैसे करना है? इंक्वायर कर लो मैनेजमेंट को या इन हाउस लीगल काउंसिल को, रिव्यू कर लो मिनट्स को या दोज ऑफ मीटिंग्स ऑफ दोज चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस एंटिटी एंड एक्सटर्नल लीगल काउंसिल. लीगल एक्सपेंस अकाउंट को रिव्यू कर लो ना. एंड इफ यू फील दैट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू, इफ यू असेस दैट देयर इज अ रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू एन आइडेंटिफाइड लिटिगेशन जो ऑलरेडी मैनेजमेंट ने डिस्क्लोज किया था, और देयर इज अ लिटिगेशन, material litigation that may exist, an additional material litigation that may exist, तो उस केस में क्या करना है? Direct confirmation with the entity's legal counsel. How? Through a letter of inquiry whereby you will be requesting the counsel that please communicate directly with the auditor. However, auditor, it might be possible that their legal professional body might have prohibit that person from sharing the information directly. Okay? So what is to be done in that case? So first of all, when communicating with the external legal counsel directly will be important, necessary when the auditor determines that the matter has a significant risk. Auditor feels that the litigation, the compensation that the company will have to pay is so high that it may impact the going concern of the company. Okay? So it is a significant risk. The matter is complex or there is a disagreement. Okay? So in that case, first of all, though, क्या करना है? If you are unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, management refuse कर देता है या external counsel refuse कर देता है, and you are unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, modify your opinion under SA 705. An auditor, as per SA 580 written representation, obtain a written representation from the management कि management ये लिख के देगा that they have disclosed each and every litigation. See, known, actual or possible, जो भी facts were available, known एक्चुअल, जो एक्चुअल में है, या पॉसिबल कि कल को ये आ सकता है, इफ मैनेजमेंट इज अवेयर तो वो लिख के देना है, एंड मैनेजमेंट नीड टू डिस्क्लोज इट इन द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट with respect to segment information, presentation and disclosure as per applicable FRF. These are the keywords. तो देखना क्या, understand, obtain an understanding about the methods, ठीक है, whether they result in the required disclosure as per the applicable FRF, ठीक है, testing of such application करो, and you can always perform analytical procedures. उसको डिटेल में बताया गया है. There can be 4 steps, like you can see what sales transfer charges are there, whether elimination of intersegment amounts has been done properly, whether you can compare the budgets and the expected results, you can see the allocation of assets and cost among the segments, and you can always see the consistency with respect to the prior period. So with this, we have finished essay 501 and essay 580. I hope students it is clear, and Charu, now I hope it is clear. Okay? So tell me, is there any, I'll be starting with essay 505. It is I'll start with it. Okay, I'll not rush, I'll not speed up with this essay, because this is very important with respect to your MCQs, with respect to your descriptive question, and true and false can also always come, and case scenario. Okay, so pehle tell me whether essay 580 and essay 501 are clear to you all. Then I'll be starting, I'll be I'll make a base with respect to essay 505, and whatever will be left we'll be doing in the next session. Quickly, I need answers. Is it clear? Send me the replies. Yes, ma'am, understood. Sandeep, Charu, Parth, I haven't done essay 601. It is 501. Okay. So students are saying, ma'am, crystal clear. Chalo, good. So now external confirmation, and see what is external confirmation. Thoda bahut to you must be aware. Why? Because I have been given the example of external confirmation in this chapter. I've given this example a number of times. Okay. So what is external confirmation? Acha, tell me, from where all can I obtain an external confirmation? Quickly send in your replies. See, students, whenever I am revising now, I'll revise in a fast speed, so that it will help you in understanding as to how to revise before your exams. Okay? And whenever I'll be explaining any concept, I'll make sure that the speed is not very fast, and everyone, when I get a thumbs up from all of you, then only I'll proceed to the next topic. So external confirmation, SA 505. So my query to you was, with respect to what all matters can I as an auditor obtain external confirmation? Okay, I'll modify this question. From what all parties? Okay, I'm conducting audit of ABC Limited. From what all parties can I obtain external confirmation? Part, I understand it is a typing mistake. Okay, so now answer to this query, that from what all parties can I obtain external confirmation? The students are have sent a number of replies: external party, inquiring debtors, independent source, third party, debtors, creditors, bankers, legal counsel, outside of the firm like debtors, related party. Okay, see, out of the replies that you have given to me now, from one party we cannot take external confirmation, which is specifically prohibited by SA 505. I'll be telling you that in detail in the next session. Okay? So what is external confirmation? Students, if you remember, in fact, I'll take you through the module. We have done a topic that reliability of the audit evidence or any information increases in 5 situations. So let me just show you that diagram from the module. See this topic. Reliability of audit evidence increases when it is obtained from independent source. ठीक है? When it is obtained directly by the auditor and when it is obtained in documentary form, and also it is original. ठीक है? And students, all these four qualities are present in external confirmation. External confirmation can be, let's say, it can be obtained from what? From debtor. ठीक है? So it is an independent source, a third party. ठीक है? Obtained directly by the auditor, and it is one of the requirements of external confirmation that it should come directly to the auditor. Obtained in that documentary form, you will see that external confirmation is a direct written response to the auditor. Okay? And it is provided in the original document. The third party will be signing it and sending it directly to the auditor in writing. So the reliability of external confirmation as an audit evidence is high, very high. Okay? Why? Because we have seen that where the reliability of the audit evidence increases, in all those conditions are present in external confirmation. Okay? Now, as I always tell you that the essay deal with the responsibility of the auditor. So what does essay 505 deal with? Essay 505 deals with the auditor's use of external confirmation procedure to obtain audit evidence. Students, I have told you, if you remember when we did chapter number 1, that the 500 series is with respect to what? Obtaining of audit evidence. Okay? And see, this essay also includes the following generalization applicable to audit evidence. Audit evidence is more reliable when it is obtained from independent source, and this characteristics is there in external confirmation. Third party is independent. Okay? Audit evidence obtained directly by the auditor is more reliable than evidence obtained indirectly or by inference. That is the reply to the request, that is the external confirmation. It doesn't happen that first the management will receive it and then give it to the auditor. No, it will come directly to the auditor. And audit evidence is more reliable when it exists in documentary form. And my dear students, all these three characteristics are present in what? The external confirmation. So depending upon the circumstances, so I cannot give a thumb rule that external confirmation are the most reliable. No. If the third party, if the confirming party is the related party, then it is not so reliable. So depending upon the circumstances of the audit, right? Audit evidence in form external confirmation received directly by the auditor from the confirming parties may be more reliable than evidence generated internally. Depending upon the circumstances, I hope it is clear that if the third party is what? A related party. Okay? Let's say any dispute is going on between the debtor and the entity, then tell me, will it be more reliable? Maybe not. Okay? So what is the objective? That the objective is, when using external confirmation procedure, the auditor needs to design and perform such procedures. Why? To obtain the reliable and relevant audit evidence. Now let us have a look at the definition, and now though it will be clear because we have understood all the characteristics of external confirmation. Audit evidence obtained, okay, as a direct written response, okay, to the auditor from a third party. I can say from a confirming party, okay, in paper form. Kya paper form mein aayega? Nahi, it can be a mail also, in electronic form or other medium. Okay? So we have understood what is meant by external confirmation. So audit evidence obtained as a direct written response. Very, very important. The keywords here are very important. And why very important? Students, if you try to understand each and every keyword, now you will be able to understand the entire concept of external confirmation. With like, just try to learn the definition. You will be able to write about external confirmation, and in correct language, the words that will be used are directly written. So try to learn the definition. audit evidence obtained as a direct written response, who will receive it? To the auditor, from a third party, or we can say confirming party, in paper or by electronic or other medium. Okay, clear so far? So we have seen that the audit evidence is obtained by way of external confirmation is more reliable depending upon the circumstances. Now, with respect to external confirmation, see what happens is how this external confirmation procedure takes place. See, when the auditor decides that, okay, with respect to the debtors, I want to obtain the external confirmation from the debtors. So what will auditor do? Auditor will ask the management to provide the auditor with the addresses of all the debtors. Okay? Auditor will apply his professional judgment, his assessment of risk of material misstatement, and his professional skepticism and everything. And he will decide as to what kind of request is to be given to the debtor. Okay? Now, there are two kind of requests that an auditor can send to the debtor. What are all those two kind of requests? Let us see. So, first is positive confirmation request. Second is negative confirmation request. Students, very, very important from the point of view of your MCQs, your true, false or descriptive type of question. A straight question can come as to what are the types of requests that the auditor can send as a part of external confirmation. Or you may get a true, false, that positive confirmation में ऐसा होता है या negative में ऐसा होता है. कैसा होता है? Let us just see. Positive confirmation request. ठीक है? So, the auditor, अब auditor ने क्या किया? He has taken the addresses of the debtors from the management, ठीक है? And auditor will now design his request letter, है ना? Request करेंगे ना? What will I be requesting as an auditor? I'll request the third party. Let's say A, Mr. A is the debtor of my client. So I'll say, Mr. A, please tell me as to what is the balance of my client in your books of account. What I'm saying, I will tell him, I will ask him, what is the balance of my clients, like whatever is the name, in your books? ठीक है? Question mark. ठीक है? Or another ways, abhi I'm discussing only positive. Abhi I'm not talking about all these. One way can be this, and second way can be, Mr. A, please tell me whether the amount, the balance of my client in your books is 4 lakhs or not. So it can be either ways. I can ask them that please tell me what is the balance of my client in your books, or I may ask them please tell me whether the balance of my client in your books is 4 lakhs or not. Okay? And with respect to positive confirmation request, what will I say? That please reply positively. Whether you agree or not, whether it is 4 lakhs or not, please do reply. Positively, I need a confirmation from your side. What is meant by positive confirmation request? That Mr. A, either please reply what is the balance of my client in your books. So, is case mein to A will mention that it is 4 lakhs, or let's say he says it is 5 lakhs. ठीक है? Or I'm saying whether it is 4 lakhs or not. In any situations, match कर रहा है या नहीं कर रहा, or where I'm asking that what is the balance, please Mr. A, do reply. ठीक है? This is what positive confirmation, that I need a confirmation from Mr. A positively. पक्का पक्का से reply तो भेजो मुझे. ठीक है? What is negative confirmation request? Mr. A, अब auditor is saying, Mr. A, please reply only if you disagree. That is, I will send this request that whether the balance is 4 lakhs, and you need to reply only if you disagree. if the balance in your books is also 4 lakhs, please don't send me a reply. I will assume, if you do not send me a reply, I will assume that it is 4 lakh. However, if it is not 4 lakhs in your books of account, then do reply to me. Okay? So, आज I'll be concentrating on these two kinds of confirmation requests only, and I'll be repeating this, whatever I have said. Okay? Abhi tak we have seen what is the responsibility. Then we saw the definition of external confirmation. Okay? So what is a positive confirmation request? Whereby I, as an auditor, I'll decide as to whether to send the positive confirmation request or the negative confirmation request. What are the factors we'll be discussing later on in the next session. Okay? What is meant by positive confirmation request? Whereby I'm asking the third party to respond in all situations, whether they agree with the balance or whether they disagree. I need an answer positively. Okay? That is why the name is positive confirmation request. Okay? I'll read what is the definition of positive confirmation request that has been given in Essay 505. A request that the confirming party, who is the confirming party? Mr. A, the debtor, respond directly to the auditor. ये तो पता ही है कि directly आएगा. Indicating whether the confirming party, who is the confirming party? Mr. A, agrees or disagrees with the information in the request or providing the requested information. Let me just share the module. Just a minute. Okay? And I want you people to, spare extra 10 minutes, okay, and try to understand this concept. A very, very, very important from your point of view of what MCQs, case scenarios, descriptive, everything. Okay? So positive confirmation. Okay? Who is our debtor? Mr. A. And client कौन है जिसका audit हो रहा है? XYZ. Okay? A request that the confirming party, Mr. A, who is he? The debtor. ठीक है, respond directly to the auditor, who is the auditor? You, indicating whether the confirming party, that is Mr. A, agrees or disagrees. 4 lakhs है या नहीं है, दोनों situations में you need to tell me, or providing the requested information, that is what is the balance, इसको भी reply करना है. So in any situation I need an answer, positively I need an answer. That is why the name is positive confirmation request. ठीक है, नेगेटिव कंफर्मेशन रिक्वेस्ट. ठीक है, अब इसमें नेगेटिव कंफर्मेशन रिक्वेस्ट में ये तो नहीं लिखोगे ना दैट व्हाट इज द बैलेंस. यू विल राइट दैट इन द बुक्स ऑफ माय क्लाइंट योर बैलेंस इज 4 lakh. नाउ सेंड मी अ रिप्लाई इफ यू डिसएग्री विद दिस. अ रिक्वेस्ट दैट द कंफर्मिंग पार्टी, हु इज द कंफर्मिंग पार्टी? मिस्टर ए, रिस्पॉन्ड डायरेक्टली टू द ऑडिटर. वो तो सेम ही रहेगा, डायरेक्टली टू द ऑडिटर. Only if, a very, very important keyword, only if the confirming party disagrees with the information provided in the request. ठीक है? So in case of negative information, negative confirmation request, ये वाला option तो है ही नहीं ना, that what is the balance. ये तो positive confirmation में ही है ना कि what is the balance, please send in your reply, your confirmation. ठीक है, और पॉजिटिव में क्या लिख रहे हैं कि वेदर यू अग्री और डिसएग्री, बताओ 4 lakhs है या नहीं. ठीक है, नेगेटिव में क्या कह रहे हैं दैट योर बैलेंस इन माय बुक्स ऑफ माय क्लाइंट इज 4 lakhs. सेंड मी अ रिप्लाई ओनली इफ यू डिसएग्री. इफ इट इज नॉट 4 lakhs इन योर बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट, देन ओनली सेंड मी अ रिप्लाई. ठीक है, ठीक है. So auditor will assume that, what will auditor assume? That if the reply is not received, auditor will assume that the third party is agreeing to the balance that has been mentioned in the confirmation request letter. ठीक है पार्थ? तो yes, Parth is saying, ma'am, in negative confirmation request, the auditor is not receiving a direct written response. ठीक है, he is not getting that. But auditor is himself saying that you please send me a reply only if you disagree. So if you will not send me a reply, I will assume that the balance that I have mentioned, it is agreeing with the balance that is coming in your books of account. ठीक है? So this is positive confirmation request and negative confirmation request. Now, what is meant by non-response? Non-response. ठीक है. Now देखो, positive confirmation request में तो I positively need a reply ना. तो अगर यहाँ पे I don't get a reply, that is a non-response. ठीक है. But students, अगर negative confirmation request में I am not receiving a response, will it amount to non-response? No. Why? Because if I am not getting a response, that means that the third party has agreed. Okay? So it means that what will be non-response? That the party to whom positive confirmation request has been given, that party is not replying. Okay? So non-response as such is not there with respect to negative confirmation. Okay? Why? Because we have told them that if you agree, don't send that reply to us. Okay? But if in both the situation any letter is returned undelivered, any letter is returned undelivered, it is not delivered at the address on which you have sent the confirmation request letter, then it will amount to non-response. Okay? That you have sent to Mr. A, okay? Positive confirmation bheja and that letter has come back to you undelivered, that there is no Mr. A. So that will amount to non-response. Okay? Same way, if you have sent a negative confirmation request to Mr. A and it has returned undelivered, so it will amount to non-response. See why this is important? Because here auditor's professional skepticism will come into picture. Why? Because auditor will feel that I took this address from the management. Hana, I have delivered the letter on the correct address that has been given by the management to me. Now, why this letter has returned to me undelivered? ऐसा तो नहीं है that this is a fake letter. There is no Mr. A. That is why non-response is also very important. Okay? So whenever we are sending the external confirmation request, it can be positive confirmation request where I is auditor, where the auditor needs the reply to the confirmation request positively, whether the third party is agreeing or not. Negative confirmation में क्या है? When the auditor wants a reply only when the third party disagrees. So auditor will assume that if the third party has not sent a reply, it means that there is an agreement between the balances. As in, whatever balance has been mentioned in the request letter, the same is appearing in their books of account. ठीक है. What is non-response? When a positive confirmation is not responded, या दोनों केस में positive और negative में the letter is returned undelivered. ठीक है. So both the all the 3 points should be clear. Now, what is exception? Exception. You mentioned that the balance is 4 lakhs. But when you received, no, the balance is 5 lakh. This is what exception. Exception. Whatever information is contained in the financial statement, you get a different information from the third party. That is an exception. Now, what to do with the non-response, what to do with the exception, we will see in the next session. But Abhi, I want to take your queries and I want to repeat what is positive confirmation request, what is negative confirmation request, what is non-response, and what is exception. Let me just have a look at your queries. See, why disagree in case of positive confirmation? So whose query is this? Sandeep, it might happen that you have mentioned that the balance in my client's book is 4 lakhs. Mr. A, your balance is 4 lakhs. Please tell me what is the balance of my client in your books. And Mr. A finds that it is 5 lakhs. है ना? So there is a disagreement ना. So agreement or disagreement of what amounts, whether you agree with this amount or whether you disagree with this amount. ठीक है संदीप? See, Shashank, you send these letters by speed post, ठीक है? Or you can send any of your staff to, deliver it to the concerned person. ठीक है? So what can be ordered? ठीक है. So one student is saying, ma'am, what can be the audit evidence in case of negative confirmation request? See, whatever negative confirmation request you have drafted, first of all, that is an audit evidence. ठीक है. When in case the other party disagrees and send in your reply, that is again a negative confirmation, the audit evidence. ठीक है. ठीक है. So exception is, I'll just repeat it. So let us just see at SA 505 what we have seen, that it deals with the auditor's use of what? External confirmation. Why? To obtain audit evidence. And what is the definition? It says audit evidence obtained. We know that external confirmation is one of the audit evidence as a direct written response. किसको? To the auditor. कहाँ से? From the third party, confirming party, in paper or by electronic or other media. ठीक है. And we have seen that since it is obtained directly, it is obtained from independent source, it is in writing, it is a reliable source as compared to what is, it is a reliable audit evidence as compared to an internal audit evidence. ठीक है. But it depends upon the situations, circumstances. I gave you example of what? Related party. ठीक है. Now what is positive confirmation request? When I am requesting the third party, Mr. A, that Mr. A, please respond directly to me and indicate whether you agree or disagree, or give me the information that I have requested. ठीक है. 4 lakhs है या नहीं है, या क्या balance है. ठीक है. It can be drafted in 2 ways. So in all the situations, in all the cases, you have to send in your reply positively. I need an answer. ठीक है. Negative confirmation, a request to the confirming party, Mr. A, that please respond directly to me. To me is to the auditor, only if you disagree with the information that has been given. ठीक है. So you disagree. मैंने बोला है कि 4 lakhs है आपका बैलेंस मेरे क्लाइंट के बुक्स में, बट अगर आपके बुक्स में मेरे क्लाइंट का बैलेंस 5 lakhs है या 4 lakhs नहीं है, तो प्लीज डू रिप्लाई. What is non-response? When in case of positive, see what is written, a failure of the confirming party to respond or fully respond to a positive confirmation request. ये तो समझ आता है कि पॉजिटिव कंफर्मेशन रिक्वेस्ट का आंसर नहीं आया तो दैट इज अ नॉन रिस्पॉन्स. बट दिस विल नॉट हैपन इन केस ऑफ व्हाट? नेगेटिव कंफर्मेशन. व्हाई? बिकॉज अगर नेगेटिव कंफर्मेशन में यू आर नॉट रिसीविंग अ रिस्पॉन्स, इट मींस द पार्टी इज अग्रीइंग विद द बैलेंस. अग्री किससे करना है? जो अमाउंट, एनी इंफॉर्मेशन दैट हैज बीन मेंशन्ड इन द रिक्वेस्ट. ठीक है. और कंफर्मेशन रिक्वेस्ट, दोनों में से कोई भी कंफर्मेशन रिक्वेस्ट रिटर्न्ड अनडिलीवर्ड. क्यों? Professional skepticism. Bhai, why? Address was given to me by the management. Now it is getting returned undelivered. Why? ऐसे तो नहीं है that Mr. A, there is no Mr. A. ठीक है. Exception, a response आया दोनों का. ठीक है. That indicates a difference between the information requested to be confirmed, 4 lakhs. ठीक है. और contained in entities record, जो entity record में A का balance what was it? 4 lakhs, and information provided by the confirming party. The confirming party A is saying no, it is 6 lakhs. So there is an exception, there is a difference between the information that is coming in the financial statement of my client and the information that the third party is confirming. ठीक है. ठीक है. Clear? So positive confirmation request, negative confirmation request, non-response and exception. So quickly tell me whether the external confirmation zyada to we haven't done, but jitna bhi kiya hai, whether you have understood or not, and I'll take your last 10 minutes for the revision of SA 580 and 501. ठीक है. And I would request you all to, please be with me and attend these revisions because these are going to help you. And Dora, yes, you are saying correct. ठीक है. Yes, exception can be, Charu, exception can be positive confirmation also or negative confirmation also. जहां पे भी there will be a difference, that will be an exception. ठीक है. So SA 580, students, please be with me. I want your another 5-7 minutes. That's it. We will be revising the 2 essays that we have completed today. So SA 580, which is on written representation, and it deals with auditor's responsibility to obtain written representations from management or those charged with governance. What is the definition? It is a written statement. A very important point I would like to add here, I think this point is missed. Written representation do not include financial statement, assertions, or supporting books or records. Students, now tell me, see, what is the definition? Written statement by management provided to the auditor. Financial statements are also written statement. They are also provided by the management to the auditor, but they are not written representation. Okay? So a very important question from the point of view of your true and false. So whether the written representation will include the financial statements, assertions, or supporting documents? No. Okay? Because financial statements को ही तो audit करने के लिए we want a written representation. So how can we say that these are only written representation? Yes, they are written statement. Yes, they are provided by management to the auditor, but they are not written representation. Okay? So written statement by management to the auditor to confirm certain matters or to support other audit evidence. And as we have seen that, yes, they are responses to inquiries. They are similar to responses to inquiries. They are necessary audit evidence, but they do not provide sufficient and appropriate audit evidence on their own. Okay? And the fact that the management has provided a reliable written representation does not affect the ND of audit evidence that the auditor has to obtain about the fulfillment of management responsibility. What is the objective? To obtain written representation with respect to fulfillment of responsibility for the preparation and presentation and completeness of information by the management. To support other audit evidence, we saw in SA 501, remember, with respect to litigations and claims, to respond appropriately in two situations: if management provides, if management refuses. Now, from whom? From the persons, the management who has the knowledge of the matters, who is responsible for preparation and presentation, and the management may decide to make inquiries. And students, I have shown you the sample illustrative written representation that is given in SA 580, whereby it was specifically mentioned. Okay? So actuaries, staff engineers, or internal counsel. Okay? Written representation, all responsibilities, all relevant information has been given. It will be addressed to the auditor. See, other essays require the auditor to request written representation, SA 501. If in addition to such required representation, the auditor determines that is necessary to obtain one or more written representation to support audit evidence, the auditor shall request such other written representation. Management cannot say कि ऐसे कैसे मांग रहे हो इतने सारे written representation. No. Auditor may ask even if it is not specified in any essay. And particularly, कब लेना written representation? When those who have signed the terms of engagement, they are no longer having the relevant responsibility. The terms of audit engagement, they were prepared in previous year, or there is any indication that the management misunderstands those responsibilities and change in circumstances. Date should be as near as practicable, but not after the date of auditor's report. Form should be in the form of representation letter addressed to the auditor. If there is any doubt, so if the auditor has a concern about the integrity, ethical values, or diligence, or the commitment of the management, do one thing: consider such effect on the reliability of written representations. If you get an audit evidence which is inconsistent with the written representation, then try to resolve that matter. If still you are unable to resolve, reconsider the integrity of the management. If you conclude that written representation are not reliable, you shall take the auditor shall take appropriate actions by modifying the auditor's opinion report in SA 705. If the requested representation are not provided, again discuss with the management, reevaluate the integrity, take appropriate action. So this was our SA 580 on written representation. Now SA 501. So audit evidence, specific considerations for selected items. What are the selected items? Inventory, litigation and claims, and segment information. What are the specific consideration? Existence and condition, completeness, existence condition of inventory, completeness of litigation claim, and presentation disclosure of segment information. Inventory को क्या करना है? If inventory is material, first of all, auditor आपको existence और condition देखना है. So attend if unless impracticable. Attend करके evaluate करो documents को, observe करो, inspect करो and perform test count. Compare करो जो भी actual results आए हैं with the final inventory records. ठीक है, there are various factors which may affect. If on the date of the financial statement the inventory count is not happening, attend it on an alternate days. ऊपर वाले सारे procedures करो, but with respect to the events that have happened between the count date and the date of financial statement, उसको भी consider करो. If it is due to unforeseen circumstances you are unable, attend it on an alternative day and intervening transactions के लिए perform the procedures. If it is impracticable, for example, it is unsafe, it is not safe for the audit, it is there are threats to the safety of the auditor and his team, then you shall perform alternate audit procedures. If that is not possible, modify your opinion in SA 705. However, general inconvenience, see, general inconvenience is not sufficient. It's not sufficient to support a decision by the auditor that is he is going to not attend the inventory count. So SA 200 comes into picture and it says that the matter of difficulty, cost, time in itself is not a valid basis for an auditor to what omit an audit procedure. ठीक है. If the inventory is kept with third party, request the confirmation with respect to quantities and condition. Quantities से आपको क्या पता चल जाएगा? The existence, and then perform the inspection and other audit procedure whichever are appropriate. Litigation and claims के लिए सबसे पहले क्या करना है? You need to identify कि कोई risk of material misstatement तो नहीं है with respect to the litigation and claim. Inquire करो मैनेजमेंट से, इंटरनल लीगल काउंसिल से, रिव्यू करो मिनट्स किसका, मीटिंग्स का, दोज चार्ज विद गवर्नेंस एंटिटी, एक्सटर्नल लीगल काउंसिल का, रिव्यू करो लीगल एक्सपेंस अकाउंट. अगर आपको लगता है दैट आइडेंटिफाई लिटिगेशन में देयर इज अ रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट, है ना, और आपको लगता है देयर इज अदर लिटिगेशन व्हिच वाज नॉट disclosed earlier, seek direct communication from external legal counsel. Letter of inquiry के through जाओगे ना, but it might be possible कि उनका professional legal body they prohibit them. So first of all, किस situation में you will feel necessary when there is a risk of what significant risk, when the matters are complex and you feel, and after reading through the minutes you have seen that there is a disagreement between the management and entities external legal counsel. तो क्या करना है? अगर management refuse कर देता है that I'm not giving you permission to communicate with the external legal counsel, the external legal counsel he is not responding appropriately, and you are unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, do one thing, modify your opinion as per SA 705 and obtain a written representation. And last segment, information. So auditor को क्या देखना है? Obtain करना है sufficient appropriate audit evidence with respect to presentation, disclosure of segment information as per applicable FRF. ठीक है, तो methods को obtain an understanding of the methods and see whether it leads to results in disclosure as required by the applicable FRF. ठीक है, testing भी करो application of such methods का, and you may perform analytical procedures. कैसे कैसे करना है कि elimination of inter-segment amounts है या नहीं, compare करो budgets and expected results को, allocation of assets को देखो, cost को देखो among segments, and consistency with prior periods देखो. ठीक है, so with this students we have done 4 essays in detail, like completely, that is essay 230, essay 500, essay 580 and essay 501. Essay 505 I have tried to make a foundation of this essay, and in next session we will be covering 3 or 4 essays depending upon the time. So before coming for the next session, again I'll repeat here that please go through the entire module till where we have covered, including the illustrations, including the examples. ठीक है students, if you don't read now, you will keep on compiling the things to be learned and to be understood. ठीक है, जैसे understanding should be clear in the sessions, it will be more clear once you go through the module. ठीक है, in entirety, including the illustrations and examples. And again I'm requesting you, start learning. You will get marks only with respect to what you write in your exams. Okay? So start learning, and I'll be uploading the practice question before the next session. I request you all to please go through those questions before coming for the session, and please let me know whether you have understood or not the today's session. And also, ma'am, please take a quiz. Okay, Anjali is saying. Let's see if it's possible in the, we will play a quiz in form of MCQs in our next 2 sessions, okay? And do fill in the feedback form. ठीक है? And please come in the next session after going through the module. Start learning, ठीक है? It is a very humble request, and only then you will be able to pass with flying colors, ठीक है? So thank you for the extra 20 minutes today. In fact, 21 minutes. Thank you so much, and a good night to all of you.